Mother's Day is often one of the biggest Sundays of the year in any church. And if you're a pastor, I'm sure you've got a lot going on that day. And I'm thinking maybe you could use some visual support to make your next Mother's Day message really pop. I'd like to share the heart of a very short and very powerful sermon that's perfect for Mother's Day or Father's Day or any day when your audience might need it. And you know what? As I always share with my audiences on a day like Mother's Day, the lessons here are relevant for mothers, fathers, grandparents, and any adult in the room who has influence over children. Or there may be children in the room who are old enough to know that they're probably going to grow up one day and have children of their own. In other words, a message from Psalm 121 is a message for all of us. In the Bible, every family knew something about climbing. Jerusalem was at the top of the Judean mountain range. If you made a trip to Jerusalem in those days, you had to do some serious climbing. And have you ever noticed that people always speak in the Bible of going up to Jerusalem? That's because they were walkers. And walkers remember not north, east, south, or west, but whether or not they were going up or going down. Even Jesus, in telling one of his most famous parables, said a man was coming down from Jerusalem going to Jericho. The Good Samaritan eventually rescued that man, but you get the point. Jesus didn't say that the man headed east. He headed down. And the people who heard Jesus tell that story knew the sensation. For every time they went to Jerusalem, they went up. And when they came home, they came down. So, pay attention to the geography behind a very short sentence in Luke's Gospel. This is the heart of a great Mother's Day message. Every year, Luke tells us, Mary and Joseph took their growing family to Jerusalem. They would celebrate Passover there. Now, if you live in Nazareth today, that means simply loading up the family in your vehicle. You've got to make sure everyone's gone to the restroom one last time, and then you head to Jerusalem. Depending on traffic, it should take you between 2 and 3 hours. It's about 100 miles or 160 kilometers. But for families in the ancient world, this was a major trip. I mean, think about it. When was the last time when you took your family on a 100-mile hike? What would you pack? Where would you sleep as you camp out along the way? And what about water, food, and are you sure you're going to find friendly faces along the way? People traveled in large groups, making a caravan of sorts as they traveled to Jerusalem from the Galilee for the holidays. And it was probably a lot of fun. It might be the closest thing to a vacation people in the Bible ever experienced. For Mary and Joseph, going to Jerusalem for Passover would mean leaving Nazareth, walking a full day in the Jezreel Valley, turning south at the Jordan River Valley, and then hiking 2 more days until they reached Jericho. These families could cover about 20 miles a day. And if you'll notice, most major towns in the lands of the Bible are spaced about 20 miles apart. That's because that's as far as people expected to be able to travel in a single day. While the rest of the walk would have been pleasant enough, the last 18-mile stretch took Mary and Joseph, Jesus, and Mary and Joseph's younger children from the lowest city on earth, that would be Jericho, to the highest peak on the Judean mountain range. That's where the temple was perched in Jerusalem. And we know exactly which road they used. There's water in the canyon, they call it a wadi, that connects Jericho and Jerusalem. There's no water to the north in the Benjamin Desert, and there's no water they can reach in the south in the Judean wilderness. But here, there's plenty of water that will allow all of these thirsty travelers to keep refilling their water vessels as they travel. There's even a monastery built on the side of the canyon to mark all the great Bible events that happened along this path. Now, here's where your message finds its heart. Right now, when your audience is being held spellbound by all of these images, you could read Psalm 121 or quote Psalm 121. That's what Mary did. Can't you hear her singing as she tries to encourage her children and herself to stay safe and to keep walking along this difficult journey? Another option would be to recruit a young mom with young children to stand on the platform with you. Of course, you gave her this assignment in advance, but let her quote Psalm 121 as she sees the road Mary traveled in her own life. That would be an overwhelming, unforgettable message for her and everyone in your audience. There are a few other things you might want to point out as this video continues to play. For instance, in this same passage from Luke chapter 2, Mary and Joseph returned to Jericho without Jesus. They came all the way down this path, assuming that he was with friends, only to discover that he had been left behind in Jerusalem. They turned around and climbed all the way back up to Jerusalem, 18 miles, and it was 3 days before they found him in the temple. Finally, they were able to start their journey home again. They must have been exhausted physically and mentally. If one of my children did something like that, we would have what my dad would have called a come to Jesus meeting. I don't know what you call it when you're Mary and Joseph and the person you're frustrated with is Jesus. It must have been frustrating. There's some other suggestions for making this message memorable for everyone, whether they're mothers, fathers, single adults. This is the kind of message that people are going to remember for a long time, and boy, could some of them use some encouragement. Every time an audience gets together in a church, someone is going through some tough circumstances. Every single time. I would encourage you to never pass up an opportunity to offer that biblical word of encouragement. They might be going through a physical illness or the terrible confines of grief. They might be in a financial struggle. They might be having a family challenge. And almost everyone in your audience can relate to a tough climb through the wilderness as a tough journey from their own life. On a day like Mother's Day and Father's Day, many in the room are thinking about how hard it is to raise godly children in an ungodly culture. Some of those parents and some of those people who wish they were parents are struggling with incredible grief. Mary and Joseph and countless people like them saved songs like Psalm 121 for days when they were climbing a difficult path. They were ascending. Now, of course, they would have heard the Psalms of Ascent again at the temple during the holiday celebrations, but out here in the real world, I can almost promise you, they sang these words as they climbed. And that's the powerful lesson for all of us. When the road gets really tough, when life is really challenging, you know what your job is? It's to keep singing and to keep moving. To remember that you're going to get through this. Where does your help come from? It comes from the Lord, the maker of the heavens and the earth. He will not let your foot slip on this dangerous path. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. It's the Lord who is with you. He's going to be with you as you go up and as you come back. And when it's time to do it again, God will still be there. He will help you both now and forevermore. And that's a great word of encouragement on any day. But on a day like Mother's Day, it's a treasure. Thank you for using Bible Stock Resources. It's my prayer that you'll become a better communicator because of the resources we're able to provide. And thanks too for passing the word along to others. In fact, we need your help in spreading the word about Bible Stock. We want to help everyone who is trying to communicate the great truths of the Bible with their own audiences, because we really do believe that seeing is believing.